Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Refracted Curvature, Neil, Arthur, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Yeah. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello.
Let the destruction begin.
Destruction? Oh, well, that depends. I mean, we've generally got to have somebody to feed off in that regard, Neil. You know, I know we were discussing this in the pre-show for the audience's benefit, as we've literally just gone live, but we were going through the fortunate fact that I can start editing some videos together again, one of which being the last fundy that joined us, called Zed, and his, 6 attempts to understand the flat Earth requirement in his example that he claimed prove a globe, and how he would literally tear out his own intestines when it comes to his own claim using a flat plane, rather than utilize it to prove a flat plane exactly as is being measured. So in that instance, instinct has led that particular fundamentalist religious globe-believing zealot to tear out their own intestines, because their own intestines include a flat Earth. So that's what they do, and it's very amusing. Hence, us being able to declare that we are very much on the cutting edge of this particular discussion. That would be globe Earth and the lack thereof. We don't live on a globe. Earth is measured flat in all examples. So feel free to pop on by, click the link as I say in the intro every day, and let us know your thoughts on the nature of Earth. Your thoughts will lead us to affirm how you have measured a flat plane, if you're claiming it to be a globe proof. Speaking of which, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve.
What do you think this is? No Atmo Day?
Wow, that's a very overloaded mic. No, I don't think it's no Atmo Day. That has nothing to do with a physical geometric sphere edge in the maths assertion, because no Atmo Day is Atmo air, and that would infer that the pictures you take and compare to the maths have anything to do with the maths. They don't. So who cares if it's no Atmo Day? We haven't got a physical geometric sphere edge unless you're deriving it from a flat plane.
But you can't see the curve because of the Atmo.
In pictures, that's no bearing on Earth curve. Earth curve only exists in the maths. In years gone by, they may have stacked up pictures that you took with your Kodak or your P900 against the Earth curve calculator, and then talked about whether or not we've got atmosphere to see geometric horizons that only exist in the maths when deriving the differential between surface level, that's a flat Earth, and eye level, parallel with the flat Earth. And then saying, based on those extractions, let's call them, that there's a geometric sphere edge marked with an X and labelled horizon below the surface level. Utterly absurd, even in the maths. But that definitely isn't something you can compare to a picture that you've taken in reality and then talk about how the atmosphere, sphere-shaped air oxymoron, affects it.
Yeah, but Nathan, I mean, there have been sightings of oil platforms being behind the curve. So isn't that a black swan to the flat Earth? I mean, you only have to see that curve one time and you know the Earth is not flat.
Right, in 2023, are there still numpties that do not actually read what the black swan argument is, as opposed to what they think they need to attack with respect to some oil rigs? There are no mention whatsoever of oil rigs in the black swan. None. Show me where it says oil rigs in the black swan argument. It doesn't. There's nothing to do with oil rigs. Their relevance is demarcation of distance. They are at fixed locations, after all. Therefore, you can ascribe the distance to horizon based on the oil rigs, but that would be the demarcation of distance. Who gives a crap about the oil rigs? The argument's about the horizon.
Yes, but if you're seeing anything in relation to that horizon, it's all just warping and wobbling around,
And
well, then it could just be refracted from beyond the curve. That
meanwhile,
you can see in an instance.
Yeah, that's fascinating with respect to the picture, but with respect to Earth being a sphere radius 3959, and then every distance to the horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Now, what are you going to do because of height in feet in their maths being in there? Attack the height or attack the distance? Well, you're attacking the distance by red herring away from the distance when you talk about what the oil rigs are doing. Their only purpose is to demarcate how far the horizon is or is not, based on its physical limitation as a hill. Who cares what the oil rigs are doing? It's not 2050, it's not 2020 anymore.
Earth has to be flat for there to be a horizon in the first place. You are not getting no horizon on a ball.
Yeah, I was getting ready to go to the rise over run formula for slope and how the horizon is 0.
Exactly.
So how do you
Horizon
compare?
would be geometric if it wasn't for the atmosphere.
You just destroyed a completely perfectly acceptable globe demolishment, courtesy of Quantum Eraser and the Slope-a-dope. Thank you, Arwin. Do you want to just hold off till we hear the end of the actual demolition of the globe prior to your interruption?
Oh, sorry. It's just that, you know, we're dealing with Glober, so they are going to recycle everything we've debunked. So I'm just preparing for the next rollout.
Okay, fine.
Right, but
Go ahead, John.
curvature is defined as the rate of change of slope. The horizon is using the rise over run formula gives you 0. How can 0 be the rate of change of slope? That doesn't make sense.
It can't and it isn't. 0 is not a rate of change. That's no rate of change. The horizon's not
Nothing
Earth curve.
happening is a phenomenon. Damn it.
The horizon's not Earth curve. By its very nature, its definition, and its useful practical application, it cannot be Earth curve and has been demonstrated not being where a hill blocking your view would be in the Black Swan. It doesn't comport with the description, the definition, or the practical application. The horizon is not Earth curve.
That's a fact.
Want to do a few more housekeeping questions? We don't typically go through all of them every day anymore. The evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety.
Well, Earth would have to be a sphere for that, correct?
Well, how would you measure the axis if Earth was a sphere?
You derive
It's
the
very simple. It's very simple. There are things moving in little circles. That can only happen if the Earth were a sphere and spinning, causing them to spin like that. Actual deviations caused by the Earth spin. That is called Coriolis effect in Wikipedia.
second time's a charm. You've responded, but you didn't actually listen to what John said, did you?
What did he say?
Precisely. Where will you
How will you
Go ahead, John.
how will you measure the axis to a certain spin?
Where'd you get the axis?
Well, you have to know the radius first.
Where'd you get
And
that?
you do that by measuring the horizon. Oh, wait, we can't do that because it's refracted. Well, we just assume it.
No, you'll derive a radial value from a horizontal plane of reference. Now, it doesn't matter what derivation you use. Let's say it's the minimum elevation angle measurement to Polaris to define an equatorial plane. But that angle derivation at its minimum for Polaris is a flat plane measurement. That will give you a radial value. But that is not capable of being derived from a sphere and is not being derived from a sphere. It is being derived from a flat plane to infer an axis of rotation. So in answer to John's question, where will you get an axis from a flat plane?
Okay, fair enough.
Really, you're going to need a flat Earth to assert that we're a spinning, rotating body.
Isn't the Earth flat in pseudo-Riemannian force space? So it
We're
could
not
just
talking
use
about
that.
4D sport. We're not talking about Einstein. We're talking about axial rotation, and that's with respect to two. Why have you taken it to 4D? Why did you do that? Are you just being your typical baller and bouncing around subject matters?
I don't know what else to do, man.
Quick, say
What do you
something.
want from me? Oh, it's all derived from a flat plane. Yeah, sorry. What do you think I'm going to do?
Well, I mean, you could throw out the equivalence principle being E equals MC squared or something like that.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that. Equivalence principle.
Okay, right, no, Arwin. We're talking about axial rotation. Now, if you're going to... You almost took it to a place that we could work with, which was Coriolis effect. An inference that we've got two frames of reference, one of which is a rotating non-inertial frame of reference based on an axis. Hence the question axial rotation, any evidence thereof. But that axis, as John finally gets to maybe make his summary, is derived from a flat plane. Can you summarise, John, as it's your point that's had to labour this with Arwin's interruption, ruining the concise nature of what you said? Thank you, Arwin.
Yeah, no matter what they do, they have to, whether they're asserting a latitude-based actual deviation, which is not Coriolis, or they want to assert that the stars are turning overhead, or we're turning underneath the stars, which are fixed in the celestial sphere. That's a flat plane that you're referencing in both instances. So yeah, you don't.
You're going to need a flat plane for axial rotation.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to use the stars as your point of reference to prove that, i.e., their movement of the stars is your proof of axial rotation, then yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth to measure your supposed orbits or your supposed rotation. It's going to be referenced to the flat plane because every bit of movement is a referenced angle, elevation angle.
Right. And if you're going to assert a actual deviation globiolus, non-Coriolis claim, you're going to need latitudes, which are only derivable from a flat plane.
It's overcomplicated again, isn't it? Because you see, you've gone, if you're going to use the fact that the stars move as your evidence, well, that's the debunk. It's not evidence, mate, is it? Stars moving above my head is not evidence that I'm moving.
Why are you trying to...
Yeah, but...
Hold on a second. What is going on today? Or yesterday and the day before that? Your suggestion, Adam, is to say that when they infer that the motion of the stars based on an axis that we are deriving from a flat plane to infer we're on a spherical surface moving to move the stars, apparently move the stars, is better debunked by suggesting that that's just not proof that we're moving. That's your suggestion. Rather than saying, okay, for you to suggest that we are in an orbital motion, as they absolutely will do just by looking at the stars and saying, look at that, therefore we're in orbit, is to point out how they derive the claim through their maths with a flat plane. Rather better, according to you, to just say, well, that doesn't prove we're moving.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And all you're doing is going, look, no, baller, come over here. I've got a really shiny, nice new toy. Now, I'm going to have to presuppose all sorts of shit I'd have never let you get away with before, so I can chop your head off with this one. Yeah, but no, you can't. You've got to presuppose something to take them to chop that head off. You've got to allow the presupposition that star rotation means the Earth's moving to allow you to then use what I just said with regards to elevation angles to chop the head off.
Yeah.
Right. What are we? Let's go back to the beginning.
But they
what
will
are we
and they...
discussing?
Hold on, let me just clear that up with Adam first. They will and they do. And when they do, we'll point out they need a flat Earth for it. Not tell them that
But
doesn't
why am I
prove for
letting
spinning.
them? Why am I now doing
I'm
a
going to tell
Tony
you.
and allowing? And I'm asking Nathan because it's Nathan I'm challenging it. He doesn't let Tony presuppose coffee, right? And now he's presupposing that star movement means Earth rotation to use his shiny new weapon.
No, I'm not. I'm saying when they propose that star movement proves Earth rotation, the response will be that they will need a flat Earth in order to make that claim, and show how they have used a flat plane to derive a radial value to give them an axis to infer we're a non-inertial turning reference frame when they, not I, claim we are, which they do.
Yeah, what's the name of the door?
Hold on. I'd rather hand off to John. Credit where credit's due, unless he doesn't want to.
No, because you're not mugging me off like that. You've just
Right, what's the name of the door? What are we?
Hold on, he's objecting, John. We're going to get some order, because I don't want this to be like last time where we were all talking over each other. Hold on, Adam. I'll get some order, regardless if it was me pinned up against a wall, which is fine. Right, I'd rather...
Make your point again.
Go on.
You make your point again. You've just said, why not do this? Yeah? Well, because if I do that, I've already presupposed that any movement of the stars means that I'm moving.
You will be inferring that if you are claiming it as a glober, correct?
The second, as a glober, I claim that star movement, is a methodology for measuring Earth rotation. I've had to assume that it's me that's moving, not the thing that I'm measuring moving. That's the point I don't want to go past yet. I don't need an elevation angle. I don't need a flat plane yet. I need to deal with your begging question.
Still need a radius.
If the stars move, then I have axial rotation. The stars are moving, therefore the Earth's rotating. No, I'm not going past that point. I'm not going and getting out my shiny new sword at all. Don't even need to unsheath this one.
Okay, everyone stop. We're going to do a quick call to action, and then we're going to have some nice ordered discussion where everyone lets everyone finish. I can hear you objecting. I hear your objection. Right. First and foremost, this is going to get heated quickly, so please share the show. If you're a fundie and you happen to want to dive in because it's getting heated, you can also feel free. There is a link below, as I shout out every single time I do an intro, but people may have joined since the intro, which is highly likely. Click the link if you're a globe believer and want to affirm some of the positions that obviously aren't proving a flat Earth as far as you are concerned. For us on the panel, when it's Adam talking, he's going to get to the end of his point in its entirety, even if it seems long-winded. I'm not saying it was Adam. Okay, right.
I have a propensity for that.
No, not at all. I'm just saying. Fine. Your objection. Go ahead, John.
Adam has an extremely valid point. If the name of the debate was, is the stars rotating or is the flat plane rotating? What are we debating? What is the name on the channel when you step in here, though?
Bang. I absolutely love it. Go ahead, Adam.
No, the question was to do with Coriolis. Don't change the question so you can...
It was not. You introduced Coriolis. No, the question had to do with axial rotation.
Axial rotation. Okay.
Not Coriolis.
Okay.
No.
We can blame Arwen. Blame Arwen.
Okay. I'm still happy with axial rotation. Axial rotation has nothing to do with flat Earth. It doesn't have to be, does it? You can still have a big pizza spinning. It's that what we're talking about is the assumption that the Earth is spinning, and the assumption that when we see the stars moving in the sky, that means we're moving. That's
okay.
What
So
we're
we got
doing.
we got this big flat pizza spinning.
Have you?
Nobody's claiming that.
Flat Earth
total red herring. Nobody is claiming that. Total red herring.
Right. Yeah, it's a red herring, but so the glober has a big flat pizza spinning. Okay, and
No,
not my claim.
you keep doing this. Is it my claim that the globe is spinning and it's got axial rotation that I can prove a flat plane is needed to claim? Or is it you claiming it and me arguing against it with you telling me that I'm now begging the question like Anthony did? Because you're convoluting this into...
You're the baller. You were the baller. I was first responding to you being the baller, claiming axial rotation.
I've not done that on the show. I've not done that. Well, then there's confusion because I've not done that. I've not played devil's advocate and been a baller.
No. I've responded to the baller. That's what I was saying. I wouldn't go
Excuse
there.
me? What?
Yeah,
Yeah, you've convoluted it well enough that nobody's getting the point. That's what ballers do.
Ooh, I'd put your hand back down. And let's
Yeah,
start again
that-
then and
That's
clarify.
honesty, isn't it?
Let's start again then and clarify it. So the point I was responding to was you guys saying, right, a baller said to us axial rotation, and you want to go to elevation angles taken from flat Earth because they're the thing that they're going to measure to show their rotation.
correct.
And I said, no, I wouldn't go there. I don't need to go there because it's the assumptive part of their statement that I'm going to focus on first. That if I have star rotation, it means I've got Earth rotation. That's
Hold on.
let me finish my sentence.
Just give me another
That's
minute.
What I was saying was that's the point I would first deal with before going to any flat plane stuff, because at the moment the baller hasn't invoked a ball or a flat plane. He's just said that the Earth, whatever it is rotating. I'm done.
How did he establish the axis for
I
the
don't know.
spin? Right. So you don't think it's relevant?
You don't
to
know,
ask
and I
him
don't
how
know.
Excuse me. How did he establish this axis that you are begging the question of whether it's turning or not turning to discuss with him as an assumption? The fact is, there's an axis that has been ignored to talk about whether the stars are moving or you are.
Well, let's give it an assumption then, John. So we can both respond.
Don't use axis. Don't use axis.
Well, somebody's got to be the baller that's going to present it, because it's come to us, me and John, then, and we're both going to attack it in different ways. So what's the baller saying? Because at the moment he's saying, as far as I can see, both of us are responding to him saying the Earth rotates because stars move in the sky. Yeah, are we both responding to the same statement the baller's made there?
Yes.
Where did you get the axis to assume the stars were moving?
I haven't got an axis yet. I've got a baller that's just said, at the moment, I can prove the Earth's rotating because I can track the movement of the stars in the sky at 15 degrees per hour. Yeah.
Well, the real answer is that's an affirming the consequent fallacy.
Thank you very much, Eli. I love you.
Hold on a second. No, the stars are turning around what?
Don't know. Well, in your affirming the consequent thing, it's got to be now. Yeah. This is what I'm saying.
Hold on. No. You listen. Are the stars turning around the Earth? Really?
That's what I can see.
Is that what you believe as a baller?
That's all I can see. I'm not a baller. All I can see.
Stop. No, you can't do that. You're giving us the position
from a baller in this. I'm trying to show you guys I would not use your super wieldy weapon. I'd do exactly what Eli spotted it as, which is to point out that this is an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy.
Okay.
You don't need flat Earth.
Okay. Let's just fine. I'll take that totally on board. So, just to appease you, would you not say, and I think it was John who already said this, given the name of the show, when somebody affirms the consequent that if the Earth is a sphere, and they don't have to say it, then the star rotation I observe, and there is star observed rotation, therefore Earth's a spinning sphere, right? First thing you should do, if you're a proponent of a flat Earth, is point out, if you will, I don't know why it's taking priority, but it will in this example, that they have affirmed the consequent. So you've just affirmed the consequent, that's a logical fallacy. Therefore, your argument is void. Your argument, in order to utilize this fallacious reasoning, required the measurement of a flat plane to do so. Were you aware of that?
Well, hold on.
So after you've killed him, you're going to then stab him with your flat Earth.
You're doing it again. It's the same thing with the curve calculator that you said was an Earth curve calculator. Is their claim that the stars are rotating, or is it their claim that the stars are fixed and they are rotating?
Fixed and they are rotating.
Their claim. Okay, then. Why are you talking about the stars rotating? Baller.
Exactly. I'm happy with that. I've not meant to invoke a flat plane yet, have I? Why are you talking about the stars rotating, Baller? What does it mean?
Right. So they're not going to claim what you said they'll claim.
They've got to claim something then.
Yeah,
If
the
they're
Earth's
claiming we're
rotating.
rotating, what are they going to use to prove rotation then? If they're not going to use star rotation,
Well, if they do use star rotation, and they are, as you now positioned it, as we would also in this scenario, that they are claiming the star's movement is as a result of an Earth turning, then they're going to need a flat Earth for that. And that is absolutely what they and that is what they would be claiming.
What? So they're claiming if star turn, then Earth moving.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Don't go any further, Nathan. Come on. This is what I'm saying, dude. You would not have allowed Tony to wander into a great gravity point if that's all that's needed at the beginning. Put your shiny new weapon down. You can't use it here.
That's what they claim. What are you talking about? They claim that the stars are not moving, that it's the Earth that's moving. You have decided what they're claiming arbitrarily, which is not what they're claiming.
Your mic's breaking up, by the way, John. Yeah, it's got to be opposed in order for it to be drummed home. And I'm not against Adam opposing it in this regard. There's plenty of examples where I have put down people who have said, no, I'm going to take it through the steps of them so I can show how they're wrong. This isn't just showing how they're wrong, though. It's not showing how the argument doesn't work and doesn't lead to a logical conclusion. This is showing how the conclusion they've drawn required a flat Earth to be measured in practical application. It required Earth to be flat to make the affirming the consequent. After you've pointed it out as a fallacy, why not show that the only bit that's being physically measured in their example is a flat Earth?
Well, my point is, when Adam first brought this up, he brought up a claim they don't make. They don't claim the stars are rotating. They claim the stars are fixed and that the plane is rotating with respect to the stars. Right. That is their claim. Yeah. You are being dishonest at this point. Unless you acknowledge what I just said, you are being dishonest at this point.
I'm not really sure of your point here. But my point was trying to get the baller, who I wasn't being, to try and address a claim for me to then deal with as a flat earther. So I know they're going to say to me, however you want to phrase it, that star movement means Earth rotating. You can construct the sentence in whichever way you're happy. And if you want to do that,
what they claim.
If you
that's
want
not what they claim. There's a difference.
I'll tailor my response to you as whatever you want to describe what the baller would say.
No, that's not their claim. You're acting like you don't know what their claim is all of a sudden.
Hold on, Adam. Hold on,
and I'll respond to it accordingly then.
Adam, hold on. Let him make his objection. I didn't hear it. Go, John.
Yeah, you're acting like all of a sudden you don't know what they claim anymore. Adam.
No, you're being a bit
you're acting like that they're claiming the stars are moving and they're not claiming that, and you know it. You know they're not claiming the stars are moving. You know that, and you're being dishonest. At this point, I am pointing it out. If you either accept it, or you're being dishonest.
No, we need to finish this, Eli, because I'm now being called dishonest.
But you're rumpusing him as well. We're getting a bit of audio chaos. Just please refrain from rumpusing him. Adam, talking to you.
Yeah, well, I've just been called dishonest when all I was trying to do was lay out a situation to address. So, Refracted, if you'd like to put the statement that you think I, as the baller, should have put forward first for me to address, then I will address that, and then we can remove the tag of dishonesty, can't we? So make the statement that you, as the baller, would like me to respond to in terms of how you're going to describe this star movement as your evidence for Earth rotation.
See, you did it again. The star movement. The stars ain't moving, Adam. They don't claim the stars are moving.
So please,
why do you keep saying it? Address it. Address why you keep saying that, or I'm going to call you dishonest at this point.
Yeah, one more and I'll tell you to fuck off. I've just
No swearing.
given you a little
No,
hint that
keep
you're
it
coming over
civil.
very rude and aggressive. I'm trying my best here to make this pleasant. So I'll ask you again, Refracted. If you just put it to me, if you're the baller now, the exact statement that you would like me to respond to, then I can do that. No need to question my integrity.
So now I have to give their claim. The stars are not moving, Adam. This is what a baller will tell you. The stars are not moving. The earth is turning underneath the stars to give an apparent deviation.
Correct.
That is their claim.
So if I see stars moving in the sky, what it actually means is I'm rotating. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Baller? Just so I understand your claim, Mr. Baller. I know that the stars aren't moving in your paradigm, but I do see the stars moving. So you're telling me when I see the stars moving, it means I'm rotating. Is that your claim, sir?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a formal logical fallacy of affirming the consequent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So notwithstanding that we would point out they're affirming the consequent fallacy, is it not also pertinent to point out that the claim in the first instance utilises a flat Earth to derive the ball that they think is rotating in this instance, to give them the axis?
No.
Yes, I like your summarization.
It's a formal logical fallacy. There's no need to mention the angle. We've not got to the angle. He's already lost the argument by having to admit that the way you would construct it with elevation angles is in of itself a formal logical fallacy. We don't need to cite what the source of the elevation angle and what that would prove is, because we've already undone the argument at its root that it is a formal logical fallacy.
Right, but turning, the earth turning was my point. You don't get turning without an axis.
Right. They're contingent upon each other,
So it's a
right?
bit of go ahead, AI.
If an axis is contingent with rotation, which you can't separate the two, then as soon as you infer rotation, an axis is automatically proven if your first premise is true. You don't need any angles to determine an axis exists. Maybe the particular orientation of the axis in free space, but other than that, you don't. So the usual second order argument goes like this. I see stars rotating one direction in the northern hemisphere and a different direction in the southern hemisphere, right? And they do appeal to the stars rotating in that fashion. So it's not true that they never mention that the stars are rotating. Now, yes, technically they're using a sleight of hand of language, but all of those things can infer an axis, necessarily so if the other premises are true. You never need to measure any angle just to make the claim that the object is rotating and has an axis. Axis and rotation are contingent.
Hemisphere. It's there in the fucking language.
I know it's hard to comprehend logic, but it's too bad for you, I guess.
Well,
if I'm with you, George, you want everything to be answered by you need a flat plane for that, but it's just not true.
Look here, the words themselves are invoking the flat plane. Okay? You said hemisphere.
Dude,
where are they getting hemisphere from?
Okay.
The idea of turning. Where are they getting the idea of turning from? You're saying that you can imagine turning without an axis, but you can't at the same time?
In my opinion,
who said that?
Hold on. Hello. Sorry, Eli. Let AI respond.
Dude, nobody said that you could have turning without an axis. That's retarded. Were you not paying attention?
That's my point, though.
Well, no duh, dude. Axis and rotation are contingently linked. They can't exist separately. right?
That's his point. So to have an axis, you're going to derive it from a flat plane to assert it.
No, not at all.
So deny the
Rotation
point you just made?
necessarily has an
Really?
axis.
Really?
There's no
I can't do this
logic.
no more.
There's no premise in the logic string that requires a flat plane to have a necessary axis. Period. End of story.
Okay,
It's
let me
in
put
the
it. Let me just put it
language.
to John. What he's saying, John, is if you've got total ignorance in regards to the phenomenological fallacy that you affirm, when you just outright balls to the wall assume Earth's a sphere, which is originally where I agreed with Adam yesterday in this regard, right? Then that is the underlying fallacy that needs to be addressed. That's their point. Now, while I agree with them, I still stand doggedly behind the fact that in order to make this assumption, you're going to do something in practical application. And it's wrong for me to not point out where there's an actual measurement and how that actual measurement in physicality gets turned into this affirming the consequence. Why wouldn't you do that?
Right. But the thing is, it's in the language, right? They've hidden it in the language itself. That's why I said that's my point with Adam and with you. The spinning part. It's hidden in what the definition of spinning is. It's not in, logic. You obviously miss it too, then. You don't get it.
Yeah, bro. I don't get that. You don't understand how to form a logic string. Yeah, sure.
Wait, it's the so-called assumption that the equatorial plane is in a position, but it's not. But the assumption is that this thing is in rotation, and it's in a position relative to where you are on a sphere, I guess, when you're looking at the sky. Like I can see how it's like tangled in. It's almost like when they try to separate level from level from, like, when we say, well, it's level. Well, level with a sphere, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything other than the language, other than what it means within the language they created, which the language would be some sort of logical fallacy anyway.
No, level does not mean anything with relation to a sphere. A sphere is dropping away at all points. A sphere is dropping away at all points. That's not level.
Yeah, we know that, but somehow, it's almost discounted but included. That's the only way you can include it. In the same way, what they're saying is what they're seeing in the sky means that there's a rotation of some sort. We don't even plane, ball, whatever it is. The assumption is that there's some sort of rotation because of what we're looking at, and they can't prove that.
Well, maybe I can help you guys a little bit, because y'all are wanting to take this to a logical place and argue it from a point of logic. It is not that. We're talking about a description. We're talking about definitions and defining is what I'm talking about. Anytime you look at level in their mathematics, right, it is a horizontal plane. Every time you look at eye level, it's a horizontal plane. You look at surface level, it's a horizontal plane. Only in some obscure definition of level in the dictionary will you find conforming to a sphere. But it's not like that anywhere else, especially in any claims they make dealing with reality. It's not a logical argument, is my point. I'm not making an argument. You all want to make an argument. I'm not doing that. I keep telling you, you just don't get it for some reason.
Yeah, I just don't get it. You just don't get it.
All right, what's my argument then?
You tell me, bro.
I just explained this to you.
Dude, a rotation object, right? If it's rotating, it has an axis, period. The end. I don't know what's so hard about that.
Right. See the concession.
Like a bike, like a bicycle, right?
Okay.
You go on one side of the bicycle, you turn the ball. Go on the other side of the bicycle, you have to turn it in the opposite direction. But you're still rotating it in the same direction around an axis. Now, what flat plane did you have to measure to figure that one out?
No. With an actual bicycle wheel with actual axial rotation about an axis, it's demonstrably true. Whereas when you take Earth to be a rotating plane of reference, which it is not, you have to take steps in order to make that inference. And one of those steps is measuring a plane.
Yeah, and rotation's always decided with rotation's always fixed to an axis. You're talking about a vertical axis with the bicycle wheel. Nice try.
We're at point 3 now, aren't we?
You're saying you have to use a plane to infer rotation from the things.
Yes.
What you have to do is you have to set up your. You don't. You have to set up your affirming the consequence. You have to set up is right. If I'm at a particular point of view rotating, then something else will appear to be this way. I see something appear to be that way. Therefore, I'm rotating. Now that I've established that I'm rotating, there must be an axis.
No, you missed what you did. You skipped by it, and you never addressed it when I pointed it out to you. Is what you did.
What I skipped by in particular in the premises that I laid out.
You used a vertical flat plane to assert rotation of the bicycle wheel. Did you not?
What? Dude, the bicycle wheel could be in any orientation. Period. Any orientation.
Right. But that orientation will be a plane. Correct.
Oh my goodness, dude! It's irrelevant.
It's the main point actually. When you say it's irrelevant, it is the point.
No. The only point is that I see it rotating. That's the only point, dude. Perception.
You can't extrapolate the nature of what's rotating. You're just making a statement of rotation. So you're now trying to make
I have a choice to choose. You're correct.
Yeah, you got 2 points now. Are you trying to make the point of rotation, or are you trying to make the point of nature of what's rotating? What's going to be proven moving forward at this point?
I'm seeing it. I thought we were dealing with rotation. I have to choose which frame of reference I'm going to decide from which the rotation is occurring. Okay, I can take that either way. No matter which way I take it, right? I can infer an axis necessarily. It's a necessary inference. Can't be otherwise. And it requires zero reference to any planes.
No, it is a plane.
Zero.
It is.
No, you could keep saying that, dude, but notice how my logic tree necessarily concluded an axis must exist.
All right. When you're talking about the bicycle wheel, you're talking about in the vertical plane. Right.
Whatever, dude. That's your claim.
Or if you turn it, it will be 15 degrees with relation to that plane in an orbital plane. Do you understand that?
Dude, you can claim now that I have an axis, right? An axis is going to have a plane upon which it rotates, right? Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
So but you only no.
But I don't need to measure the plane in the first instance. That's the problem.
AI, just give me a second.
No. Hold on, let me just address this, Adam. If you have something that you can physically, demonstrably show to be rotating about an axis, you don't have to mathematically describe anything. In that circumstance, with a bicycle wheel. However, when you have something that is inferred to be rotating, then it will require a plane of reference to describe it mathematically, because you're extrapolating out a rotation by use of some... What do you mean, no?
No, you don't have to invoke a plane just because you're invoking rotation. That's AI's point, and I would agree with him.
With a bicycle wheel?
Yes.
With anything. With anything. The only way you're going to... Right, so at the point of this supposition, we're invoking rotation, right? Now, we're going to decide what it is. Now, if we use the stars, it's at this point that we're going to invoke a plane of reference with respect to any measurement of the stars. That's when we invoke a plane of reference for any meaning to move forward. The previous statement that we've agreed on is there's a point of rotation. That's the formological fallacy. Then we're going to decide how we're going to demonstrate that rotation, and we're going to nominate the stars as a point of reference to demonstrate the rotation. That's when we invoke a plane of reference. That's when you've got your flat
Exactly.
earth at
So,
that point.
let me wrap that up on that, bro.
Rotation.
Yes, I'm gonna wrap
Rotation
it up.
itself
I'm gonna
requires
wrap
the
it up.
axis.
Yeah, I just want John to make his
I'm
point because
gonna wrap
everyone's
it up.
talking
Thank
over
you.
it. John wants to reiterate his point at the point it's relevant, which is now.
Dude, we heard his point like 500 times.
Yeah, that's fine. Y'all don't care.
Let's just hear it back.
You
We're
don't
trying to have
care.
a civil conversation.
You've spent 7-8 years arguing this. I wouldn't want to talk about it either, I guess.
I do, John. So I've made my point up to there. Look, can you see that at the point where I concede the formological fallacy, the first point, now I'm going to say, okay, we're rotating, right? Anything could be rotating. It's just a ball rotating. I don't need a plane at the moment. I've just got a ball rotating. Now, as soon as I'm going to reference a star, be that on a flat Earth or creating a tangent plane on the ball, yeah, to reference, that's when I generate a plane of reference to something that's going to be my proof for the rotation. But I've already gone past the first point, which is the formological fallacy, before I can invoke my plane.
All right. You said you can show an axis, or it was made, the claim was made, you can show an axis without it being in relation to a plane of rotation.
No, that's what I'm saying. No,
Okay,
I'm saying
so
you
that
can't.
plane,
No, let me make the point. I'm saying at that point,
I gotta go. I got one sentence out. I gotta go.
Yeah, because it was wrong.
I'm in trouble. Okay. You know what? I didn't agree with everything you said, but I didn't interrupt
But you
you.
started with the first thing you said was a misrepresentation exactly of what I said for you to address, which is why I butted in, mate.
Oh my God. Please.
I don't know why you're doing that. You've accused me of a number of things, and then I challenge you as soon as you've misrepresented what I said.
I'm trying to take care of children and talk to you all who are extremely triggered.
You do that very well every day. There's nothing new there.
Yes, it is difficult.
Let's not use that as an excuse.
Yes, but I don't want to get irritated at my kids because you all are trying to argue a point.
Well, dude. Stop making it like we're responsible for your relationship with your kids, dude. Freaking man up and say your sentence or fuck off.
No, swearing. Stop it. Why are you all getting so het up over this?
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm fucking off.
Yeah,
I'd like for him to get to his point instead of making us feel guilty about his children.
What the hell's going on
It's
here?
just saying a fact. You're saying, I don't want to get angry because I have to exercise my discernment about how frustrated I get with you guys. Just statement of fact.
Yeah, I agree with Nathan.
Yeah, I'm getting extremely frustrated myself, and I've got to being called a liar, cheat, and then every time I've tried to make a salient point,
That's why I joined the call. That's why I joined the call to smack this dude around. I'm sick of that.
Yeah, I don't know what's gone off there, but I was completely misrepresented every time I'm trying to make a clear point. I appreciate John's lost the argument because he's not recognised the formological fallacy at the beginning. But there's no need to be like that. I don't know why you're being so aggressive and contrarian to what was being said. Oh, he's gone.
Because you're inferring that it must have.
Isn't his point?
You can come with the basis assertion that Earth is turning. Just as soon as you make that basis assertion, you're going to be invoking an axis and therefore invoking a plane to describe it with respect to. That's how you can have an axis in the first instance, is what he's saying every time he got rumpused while he was trying to say it.
He was wrong.
Well, that's
and he wouldn't recognise that you do not need to invoke a plane. It's just...
Yeah.
No, but it's intrinsic, isn't it? But it's intrinsic, and I thought, why not?
Because it's only intrinsic for the next step. It's not intrinsic for the first step, where the formological fallacy has already been invoked.
Let me qualify that. There's certain things that have antecedents, right? And then there's certain things that have contingents. Okay, contingents must exist simultaneously. Antecedents precede, right? And then they do exist after that, but they must exist in the first instance, right? The measurement of a plane doesn't exist in the first instance to claim rotation. Like measuring that could come much later.
It's begged into the question though. Like it doesn't. I don't see how it comes later.
No.
Okay. Let me read this. Let me read this from Wiki real quick.
The measurement, dude.
Let me let me read this real quick. It says there must exist a line joining the center of circles and perpendicular to plane of motion of points called the axis of rotation. Like it's automatically the axis of rotation. Whatever they're doing, it's about the axis of rotation. It's already baked into the entire situation.
No, that's a plane of rotation. It's nothing to do with anything you're going to invoke later. Yeah, that plane of rotation you're not going to use, particularly on a ball, you're not going to use that plane. That's only to do with the referencing of the rotation. It's nothing to do with the surface. It's nothing to do with what you're going to invoke as proof when you invoke your plane of reference later on for proof. It's a separate plane, nothing to do with it, not required, not actually pertinent to the plane of reference that you're going to use to prove a flat Earth.
Correct. They're two different things, and to conflate the two would be probably an equivocation fallacy as well as a category error. And to try to die on that hill while calling homeboy here dishonest, right? That just pissed me off, and that's why I had to swear. I apologize.
I think I understand. If anybody else can word it for me and the audience, just one more time so we all get it.
I'll word it for you very simply. All planes are not the Earth.
Oh yeah, right. Well, right.
It's that simple. Once you understand and comprehend that, then you can separate this plane from that plane, hyperplanes from normal planes. There's all kinds of planes that aren't the surface of the Earth. So to say, if I have a plane, therefore it's the surface of the Earth, that would be a retard statement.
But isn't this flat Earth debate? What are we debating? The nature of Earth, right?
Yeah, we're making sure, Neil, that when you go up against the baller, your argument is sound, logically sound. And you don't go in and invoke a plane of reference that isn't the plane of reference, first point. Yeah? As frustrating as that might be for some people to be corrected, it's not been done to anger people or humiliate them. It's because we speak up because actually...
Yeah, you just want to refine it. You want to refine it and make sure...
Yeah, right. I disagree with the point, and I'm trying to give my opinion. Never, ever, and this is the same the other day, and I'm happy to give the full presentation, do I deceive? Even when I was playing the baller, every word I said was true. There was not one lie. I don't lie. So that's why I take particular offense. I don't lie, and I didn't lie. I didn't lie the other day when I did the arguments. Because people don't fully grasp what they're prattling on about. They make out to do, and then situations like this, and people don't have the humility to go, oh, bloody hell. Thank you.
All right, but didn't we used to say you're going to need off of that?
No, I still don't understand. I still don't understand.
Yeah,
if you're referring to Earth, you're going to derive the radial value for the axis from a plane of reference. And I don't see how it's unreasonable to point that out.
Exactly.
Exactly what, Neil? Come on then, Neil. You make the point. Exactly.
I was saying, we used to say all the time, you're going to need off for that, right? But now we can't say it because there's all different planes. I'm not understanding. Don't fucking start trying to challenge me.
Everyone stop swearing.
I missed the thing anyway, all right?
Yeah, you're so far away from the argument.
But it seems like you're ganging up on...
No.
I know is right from the beginning. If you're going to need off of that, you're going to need a plane of reference which shows what you're standing on. We all are standing on Earth.
Brilliant. There it is. Stop, Neil. Neil, you've done what you needed to do. You got it out. Now we can respond to it. Go ahead. You got what you wanted from me.
Brilliant. Yes. If you're going to invoke an R, then that's the plane of reference in relation to your Earth, isn't it? You're going to invoke rotation. The plane of reference for rotation has got nothing to do with the Earth's surface. Got nothing. It's literally just the construct that you put in the rotation in.
I didn't understand that one bit.
On that, maybe right.
Yeah,
But at least you recognise that
I don't understand that either. I still don't understand it.
AI can maybe you.
yeah, because the plane, because the
Hold on,
Earth
Eli.
is not really it in the most in linguistic terms. The Earth is not a plane. It depends on the context we're talking about. It's not, the Earth is not a straight line. Like,
That wasn't helpful. Earth is
But
referred
everything,
to.
you're going to reference everything to Earth, right?
Yeah, this isn't
What we're
helpful, you
standing
two.
on.
Thank you. AI's just been asked if he can clarify. Do you want to, Adam, ask him what he's clarifying? 'Cause
Sorry.
that's been lost in Eli and Neil.
It's okay.
Ooh.
Take a chill.
Let's beat him up, Neil.
Well, there's nothing to beat up. You guys have just said I don't understand the point you're making. So now let's try and clarify the point, eh? AI. What I'm trying to make the differentiation of here is just because we've invoked a plane in our imaginary setup, whether that be a pizza pie or a ball, that plane of rotation has got nothing to do with the plane of surface that we're going to invoke to reference any elevation angle that's going to destroy them. Can we get that point on? That whilst the words are the same, plane, they're two very different things in the same construct. And when we first set up the first plane, it doesn't necessarily mean get the second plane.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Go on now.
I'm really
It's like the
struggling.
bicycle tire.
Go on. Let's
Yeah,
just,
I'm lost.
everybody else, stop. Second time's a charm for AI. Go ahead.
Was I wrong then? I don't get.
So when I describe the bicycle tire, you know, when you have the bolts on the side, everybody knows it's righty tighty, lefty loosey. But when you go to the other side, it's, you know, righty loosey, lefty tighty, right? Now that's because you're rotating them around the center axis. Now, when the bicycle tire is rotating, when I mentioned it, the guy I mentioned it to assumed it was vertical. Now, check this out. Vertical is a particular orientation in relation to the Earth. Now, that bicycle tire, when I described it, could have been at any infinite permutation of orientations relative to any other object. So the plane of the bicycle tire's rotation is one plane, and its reference to the Earth is another plane. And the angles from the Earth to it would be where your argument lies.
I get it. I get it now with the bicycle tire.
Okay, well, let me just put this to you. Yes, I appreciated that when you said it the first time. But what I understood John's point to be was, regardless of which plane you're describing, if Earth is the context, it's always going to be described with its axis. And that specific axis is going to be derived from a horizontal plane of reference. Am I wrong, first and foremost?
No, you're not wrong. No, he's not wrong. It's just that horizontal plane of reference, that first one, has got nothing to do with the surface and the nature of Earth.
For the bicycle wheel.
For the bike, it's got nothing to do with the bike. It's just the plane of rotation.
Yeah, okay, that's where we got to last time. It just descended into chaos last time. Yes, and I responded. I understand that for the bicycle wheel example, when you just describe it with an axis rotating, you could describe its infinitely permeable axis, which hasn't been defined yet, or Earth's plane of reference to describe it with respect to. And the bicycle wheel in isolation doesn't need to be referenced to any orientation when you describe it as having an axis. I get all of that. But Earth specifically will.
When you
why? There's a very important reason why. There's a very important reason why it must be. What you did say, and I don't think you realize that you described a particular type of plane. Because if the Earth is just an object floating in free space, right, like the bicycle tire, and you have a plane through it, we define that, right, if I'm holding it in a skewed orientation, we define it as diagonal, right? But how are we defining it as diagonal relative to horizontal, right? But horizontal isn't just any plane. It's a particular orientation plane. It's the base plane from which we get all other knowledge about angles from. Horizontal is a specific plane. It's not just any plane. It's not just a plane that's oriented this way. No, horizontal is the plane that matches the surface of the Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, the claim on the table is that the Cartesian system is rotating.
Yeah, that's John's. That's the whole point being argued about, though.
Right. So that first plane of rotation has got nothing to do with what you've just all agreed with.
With the bicycle wheel, in isolation, not Earth.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with the surface. It's nothing to do with the plane that you're going to use to reference to destroy them and go, you'll need a flat Earth for that. That first plane could be flat, could be round, could be hexagonal, could be. There's nothing there that defines shape or nature of the surface. It's got nothing to do with the nature. It's to do with the 3D free space of what's rotating.
Yeah, right. Which is going to be but that's going to be
then you're on a ball.
But then then you're on a ball.
Yeah, and that's that, and there you go. So that's my point. But then when you get on that ball, you're then going to set up another plane of reference, which is the one from reality, not the one you've just imagined. Yeah, it's the one from reality that you're going to then take that elevation angle. What you then do with it, based on that plane, how you put that plane on a ball and then put that rotating ball on the separate rotating plane.
That's incorrect.
Is what happened.
That's right? Wrong. No, that's wrong. You're saying that there's no reference to the plane that's been begged the question of, therefore it's only right to attract the fallacy. That seems like the correct order. But in order to start with the fallacy of the ball that you're going to affirm the consequent with, you've got to derive a radial value from Earth as a horizontal plane of reference to get that axis to infer. That's John's point, and he's right.
No.
Yeah, he is.
And that's what I said.
You don't need a radial value here. We're not trying to define R. We're just invoking rotation.
No. That's inferred the moment you say Earth is rotating. That's immediately inferred.
But you don't need to quantify it. You can just imply it.
Yeah,
you don't need to know the
That's
number
the
of R.
point. They do when we're arguing about Earth. That's the point.
No, you don't.
Listen, we skipped a step. We all skipped a step, all right? Rotation doesn't infer globe, okay? You have to add that step in.
Yeah, and that's the only way this argument makes sense, AI. From your perspective, that's the only way this argument makes sense. That's why John was getting argumentative and calling Adam a liar, because he's saying at the point that you detach it from Earth as a rotating argument and say it doesn't necessarily refer to anything specifically when we describe an axis and its rotation. Yeah, that might work for a bicycle wheel, but we're arguing about Earth.
Brilliant. And that's what we're doing. And when you argue about Earth, what you end up doing is setting up two planes, your first plane of rotation and then your second reference plane that you're going to take and assume the angles you've taken from reality you're going to attribute to that second
wrong. The second time you've done this, I said that's
plane.
Okay, the second time we're doing it. And I said, no, the moment you're talking about Earth in the discussion, you're going to derive an axis from the plane of reality that is Earth to give you that radial value for the axis before you affirm the consequent.
No, you don't need a radial value. You just need to assume.
You don't have to do it that way. You can do it either way. Listen, you can argue either way.
You're both saying the same thing, one or the other. Who wants to take it? I can hear you both saying the same thing.
You go, AI.
If you have the radius first, which you derived from, let's say, the sun angles, like Aristophanes, right? Or you say, okay, I have a ball. Now that I've established I have a ball, now I'm going to look at the rotating bodies and make certain inferences, right? Or you could just look up and be like, I see the stars rotate. I know from different points of view, you could be rotating or the object could be rotating. So I'm just going to choose that I'm rotating. Either way, you could end up at I'm rotating, right? So one way you can establish a particular orientation of the axis, and the other way you could just establish a necessary inference that an axis must exist. But you don't have to do it either. You choose which way you want to argue that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I would choose either way, because the opponent sets which choice they make in terms of the argument that they make, don't they? Let's be honest. We can't tell them which way they've got to swing in this regard, can we? It's just, we take what we get.
Right, but I will point out, I got everybody settled on this end, that when you're talking about an axis of rotation, in the second one specifically, like a bicycle wheel, a ball, you're detaching yourself from reality altogether. That spin will always be in a plane of reference. Now, it's not necessarily a horizontal plane of reference. Like if you tilt it, that's where you'll get like an ecliptical plane.
Okay. It's been a great show. Just let chocolate in. Hello, chocolate.
Yeah, great how they made an easy argument so freaking difficult.
Well, it's not that it's difficult. There's aspects of this that I am almost certain I am not understanding fully. Now, if that's the case, in other words, if I'm second-guessing what I think I understand, there's a good chance I don't understand it fully. Now, I'm not embarrassed to admit that. Now, if the nuance needs to be reiterated 16 times, so be it. We're not training to time, are we? If we don't get it, John and I are going to take the onus on us as being assumed to be incorrect, because that's the assumption by Adam and AI, then fine. We'll go through it until we do understand, or prove you wrong, and say that no, you're going to need an axis referred to as the plane that we actually exist on to derive Earth as a sphere with an axis to rotate about when you look up at the stars to affirm the consequent that Earth is a sphere, and because it is rotating, we see the stars moving. So,
that's
for me,
the thing right there, bro.
Go on.
But
it's the plane.
Hold on, John. AI first.
Being the
AI
Earth's
first.
surface. You have to coordinate the plane that you're referring to being the Earth's surface itself. That's the link you have to make if you argue it from that way. Otherwise, if you argue it from the other way, you just have to infer rotation. And once you infer rotation, the necessary contingencies of rotation automatically exist if your first premise is true. Which, by the way, is affirming the consequent doesn't make your argument necessarily false. It just makes it a possibility, not an absolute necessity.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
That has to be contingent upon the ground you're standing on, right? That's what you just said. Now, you hold that basketball up and you turn it in different planes of rotation, and whichever orientation you choose to hold it, which is always a plane, right? What have you done there? What have you done at that moment?
They've already taken it away from this by taking it to an example with a bicycle wheel that has no inferred plane required. And I've said, and I've conceded that and gone, with a basketball in space, space as the heliocentric idea of nothingness exists.
Yeah, that's what I'm using. I'll use a globe even, okay? You got a globe in front of you, and you're just holding it out in front of you, okay? And you're spinning it upon an axis. Now, where is your plane of reference in that? Is there one? Is the point is there's not? Or is there?
Oh, yeah.
It's just
perpendicular to the axis of rotation. Dude, it's called perpendicular to the axis of rotation. Yes.
That's fine. Fine. Yes. Right? Now, are you inside that sphere looking up at the stars? Or are you on the surface looking up?
No, I'm from a frame of reference where I can identify the 2 points being the axis of rotation and perpendicular to it.
Right. See,
so on the Earth you don't have that. On the Earth you don't have that, so you got to use inferences.
You're either going to put yourself at the equatorial plane on top of a sphere to describe this, or you're going to put yourself at the center of a sphere to describe this, which is the equatorial plane anyway. So, do you not get it now?
Dude, the Earth is a cube.
No, don't take it into farce.
No,
I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
Either of those places. You're putting yourself. You've got your plane of rotation. You then put your ball on that. You then place yourself creating a tangent plane on the surface of the ball. That tangent net plane then moves through 3D space in relation to the tangent plane and the plane of rotation. That's what you've created there by taking, the second plane of reference, which is your real flat Earth elevation angle, and applying it to your primary plane of rotation.
All of this for you guys to describe an axis to me, right?
Why did I say the Earth is a cube in response to your statement?
Let's say that. There's obviously more to that. Fine. Why did you say Earth's a cube? Go ahead.
Because rotation, from your vantage point, right? When you see something moving above you that appears to be moving in a circular fashion and you assume rotation, right? You could pick either reference to say I'm rotating or it's rotating, right? The object I'm standing on could be any infinite permutation of shape. To then infer globe, you need extra information that's not given in just the object rotating. That's when you start getting angles and references and curves and tangents and all of those things.
Right. I've already dealt with that, though,
if
right?
it's rotating.
I've already dealt with that when I said you can either put yourself at the center of that sphere of rotation and to describe it from the equatorial plane, or like Adam said, and I said also, you can assume that the tangent plane on top, the equatorial plane, is the plane in which I'm referring to all this from. But I'm still using a plane, ain't I?
But yeah, which is not the surface of the Earth.
Can I address that one? So when you take it to your center of the Earth, that's another but that's two step forwards, one step back, isn't it? So you've assumed you've
hold on, John. Just let him get it all out. Go ahead, Adam.
You've assumed that you've got your first plane, which is your plane of rotation. You've assumed your second plane, which is your plane of reference, your flat Earth elevation angles. You've then taken that plane of reference and transferred it to the center of a ball, creating a third plane of reference, which in of itself, again, doesn't necessarily match up. It can be an angle to the plane of reference. It doesn't have to be sitting horizontal to the plane of reference. So you're still going to create a different point. By taking it to the center, let me be more succinct, you create another third convoluted paradigm, which is prerequisite of the other two.
Right. They do that. That is the steps they go about to take celestial navigation to the center of a sphere. That they do that. That is exactly how they do it.
Yeah, but what they're saying, John, is they don't have to, and there could be a point in the argument where they haven't inferred any derivation of a horizontal reference plane to state that Earth is turning. They're saying you can just affirm the consequent. Therefore, to attack it on the basis that it requires a plane is unreasonable. My response, no, the axis itself was derived from the plane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But like, even in the red herring that we're dealing with now, the descriptions require flat planes. To talk about an axis
implied.
Hold on, John. Hold on.
Implied from a plane.
Go on, AI.
An axis isn't implied from a plane, right? An axis is implied from rotation.
Yeah.
Right?
And Earth
planes exist without axes.
Yeah, and Earth
in a sense of a rotational axis.
Yeah, and Earth is inferred to be the thing claimed to be provable as having that axis with rotation. Derivable from a flat plane when they have an axis. In this instance, therefore, you will need a flat plane for it. Seems like perfectly reasonable as a starting point.
Let's take that. Yeah, let's take that to the example of the globe that Homeboy said we're holding out in front of us. So if I take that globe, right, and it's attached on those little C-shaped things with the pins at the bottom and the top so you can spin it with your hands, I could clearly see where the axis of rotation is. I can then create a center point, right, and a plane that's perpendicular that represents that axis of rotation.
Right.
Now notice how when I'm looking at that globe in my hands, the surface of the globe is not the plane from which I'm referencing.
I agree. And that's only true with this example or the bicycle wheel example. When it is a globe held out in front of you, it demonstrably can have an axis that doesn't need reference to anything to describe it as having it. However, for Earth, that is not the case. We're not holding out a globe that's spinning, in the case of Earth, derived and described as having an axis of rotation that has been derived from a flat plane. Therefore, before you affirm the consequent, you've got to have an axis for the Earth that will need a derivation from a flat plane. Therefore, that is the correct starting point before you point out the affirming the consequent, as far as I and John are concerned.
And me. That's what I'm thinking.
That's fine, but you're both wrong. So whatever.
Well, I don't understand why I'm wrong.
I don't know. We explained it to you that you can argue it in the reverse, so it's not necessary to start there. You guys are saying you have to start there. It's just not true.
But they do start there because they're talking about Earth with an axis, as opposed to a globe held out in front of you, or a bicycle wheel held out in front of you, or a spinning basketball. That is not what's the case when it's Earth in the argument, is it?
Oh, they all have axis. If it's all things being equal, right?
Isn't it the first bit? Say again.
They would all have an axis, right?
If I hold a globe out and then create a plane, stick a ruler on the side of that globe, the plane of rotation's got nothing to do with what I'm going to do in reality. I've had to pre-assume everything. And you see, this thing started out with, I asked for clarity, what are they going to use and present as evidence to move forward with the claim that we're rotating?
Well, in your example, they've got to hold Earth physically out in front of them to show its axis, to say that they haven't got to infer a flat plane to say it's got an axis. That's what's got to go down for your example to hold true.
So they're going to show that Earth rotating by, and they spin the globe. And you say, well, that's what you're going to demonstrate to me then, isn't it? And they say, yes. And I say, how are you going to demonstrate that then?
Okay, by comparison to the globe that they're now holding out in front of them and spinning and saying, this globe in front of me has a demonstrable axis that I don't need a flat plane to derive, and Earth is the same as that. I've never heard that as an argument, but that does take it to that place, Adam. Well done.
Well, I'm not saying, what would a glober say? If the globe, I've just said to the glober, so you're going to demonstrate to me that Earth's rotating, and the glober says, yes. I say, okay then, this is not my claim, is it? So I'm asking you, what will the glober say? What's the glober going to go to? What's his to demonstrate that Earth's rotating?
Parallax.
Well, hold on. In the example,
and if that's
the globe out in front of you.
Nathan, if you does that,
I want to hear the interjection, though. I'm really sorry. I'm tracking with you, Adam. Go ahead, John. What was your interjection?
Right. When you hold that globe out in front of you and you say that you don't need a horizontal plane of reference, that's exactly right. What will be derivative is the plane of reference 90 degrees to the axis of rotation to give you the R value. That's the plane
not going to necessarily be at 90 degrees to the axis of rotation. Depending on your latitude, it's going to be.
There it is. It's screwed every time, right, John? Let's just drill this home now. Right, Adam. It depends on your latitude when you're talking about Earth specifically as a sphere. Go ahead, John.
Yes, your plane of reference.
John. That's what he needed, and now he's going to go from there. Thank you, Adam. Go ahead, John.
Just don't get it wrong, there.
Yeah, latitude's an angle measurement from the surface of Earth to Polaris. Where are you getting latitude from, baller?
I'm not a baller. I'm trying to ask what the baller.
But you're in that position. Come on, play fair.
You guys are putting words in the baller's mouth to make the conversation go this way, which is what I just said. Now, if you'd have said parallax, it's a very different conversation that we're having. Yeah, we can go straight to it. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'd go straight to elevation. But that's not what was put in front of us. It's not what we responded to. We were put that the baller's going to say stars moving. Okay? That's where this thing spawned from. So we can't keep reconstructing how it's going to start. That's how it started. Stars moving. That's what we responded to. That's why we said form a logical fallacy is the first one. If you go to parallax, then plane of reference is exactly spot on. Because to make those differentials, you're only referencing that. That's not the case if they're going to say stars moving in the sky.
Right, stars moving in the sky.
You know what,
Hold on, John. Sorry to cut you off again. Go ahead, AI. Then John.
I thought of a way this is salient from our arguments throughout the past is that sometimes what a globe over here is, globes can't rotate. That's what they'll think that the flat earther is trying to say, that, none of these objects can be measured in practicality, like the globe you're holding out in front of your hands. But they're like, well, surely I can measure it. But they're always imagining themselves in that, Muppet view vantage point. And so you got to bring them down to what they're referencing. Is like, look, you don't have this object in your hands in total. You're making these inferences, comparing the thing you're standing on to this object you're holding in your hand, and you're using these reference lines or reference points or reference planes to make these assertions. But where are you getting those from? Right? Because if you don't take them down that path, they're just going to think you're saying something absurd. Like, I'm holding a JLabs little microphone thing in my hand. It's an object, and I'm rotating it. And they're like, well, you're telling me this object can't rotate unless I reference a flat Earth? I mean, get real.
No.
If that's the way you're coming off to this,
no, we've conceded that. We keep conceding that. Like with the ball example that's held out in front of you in the case of a globe that's physically in front of you, or a bicycle wheel, or in this case, I've forgotten what the example you just gave is. But in all instances, I would fundamentally agree with you that you don't need a flat Earth to describe that axis. But it's demonstrably in front of you with an axis, unlike a ball Earth when it's claimed to be rotating about an axis.
As soon as you try to describe it, you are going to need a flat Earth. Yeah?
They do! That's the bloody point! Oh my God.
That's the point. Only when you're trying to describe it from stage 2, which is in reality, making references to reality to fulfill your description. Yeah? That's when you need a flat Earth. And like I said, stage 1, you've already committed a formal logical fallacy. That's why you don't need a flat Earth here.
But my point was the descriptions themselves. My point, though, is the descriptions themselves. That was my point to begin with. I said that when you try to describe it, you're going to need a flat Earth. Why am I getting such blowback? And now you're saying you don't after it's conceding you do.
He's saying you don't until you try and describe it, which was your point, John.
No, that's wrong too. You can describe it all day long, imagining the Earth in the same vantage point that you're holding the object. It's when you try to qualify it in tangible reality that you're going to run into your problems.
So, okay, now I can concede that. If there's just a straight up begging the question, affirming the consequent fallacy, that would have to be pointed out first. If there's no connection whatsoever being elucidated to, and it is just straight up, well, I know we are turning. No reference to ball, no R value, just we are turning because I look up at the stars. That's enough straight up affirming the consequent. And if the overall subject matter is the Earth's a sphere and they don't even mention it, then you can just go straight to the fallacy and point it out in the first instance. But if they're trying to prove that Earth's a sphere radius 3959 with us, about an axis moving, and then using the stars in and affirming the consequent, I think that pointing out that you're going to need a flat plane to assert that sphere-based radial axis is the first point, not the second, Adam.
If you're trying to say it again, if you're trying to, because you've changed the question. So say if you're trying to prove.
If you're trying to prove Earth is a sphere radius value with a radial value to derive an axis to rotate about, and then within that claim that Earth is a sphere with a radial value to infer an axis to rotate about, which they would never disclaim in that nature, and then go on to say, because we see the stars rotating above us, in other words, it's contextualized around a born Earth, not without any particular example of what's spinning, just affirming the consequent. If it's not, but it is specifically describing how Earth's a ball and we've got an axis, because that's the overriding claim, then you're going to need a flat Earth is the first point, because to make that point in the P statement needs a flat Earth. Before you get to if P, then Q, you've got the if P, and that needs a flat Earth.
Well, so are you making the claim that there's a a definable R value, or just that there's a point of rotation?
The moment they claim Earth has an axis of rotation, they are pegged to needing a flat Earth to claim it for Earth.
Because of an R value?
Because of the axis of rotation for Earth, yes.
No.
Okay, but check it out. Check it out, Holmes. When you said something to Adam, Adam asked you to re-clarify. When you re-clarify, you changed the term. And the first time you explained it, you said they needed a flat plane. The second time you said it, they needed a flat Earth. You have to link those two together, because everyone would agree, I would think, Glober and flat Earth are alike, that an axis of rotation necessarily has a perpendicular plane to the center of the axis of rotation, right? That's necessary. The only question is that the surface of the Earth? Because if you say, I need a flat plane for rotation, of course, that's obvious. That's a contingent part of
I take that totally on the chin. No, you are correct.
Now you have to...
I agree. Again, that's within your point as well, which is to say that it has to be referenced back to Earth specifically by the opponent in order for me to say, no, when you made that measurement, you'll need a flat Earth for that, as opposed to you'll need a plane of reference. So now I'll take that on the chin. That was my bad phraseology, and you're right.
Where do you get a plane of reference on a sphere, though?
They don't. They need a flat Earth for that.
Exactly.
Well, you just imagine that you're rotating, then you have this axis, right? And then you just imagine the perpendicular plane, and then you just imagine that you're taking angles from the center of the Earth because you drilled down further than the Kola super deep borehole with your super sextant.
Yeah, that's a different argument that you might have to overcome in those circumstances. And yes, again, you can, if you're listening to this as a baller, listen to the pitfalls that you'll have to negotiate to find your way to inferring a ball without stating it outright, and then weaseling in and affirming the consequent without anybody noticing. I mean, there's a lot of pitfalls that you're going to have to go through just to claim you're on a ball. I mean, it's a nightmare. It's not really our problem, but it is nice to really peg down where those pits are. I still feel not 100% clear.
I just want to make another point.
I got an ace in my sleeve, which is just my photos of Earth from space. Problem solved. Y'all can suck it.
Okay.
Nathan, I said a word earlier in the chat and you all jumped on it. I said the word latitude. Oh, you need a flat. I'm just using the word so when I'm referencing something, we can understand it. Yeah, longitude and latitude. So we're positioning things on a ball. Now, yeah, so yes, to make that assumption, I do need a flat Earth. But if we can just assume the reference point, if I'm then going to put myself on this ball with longitudes and latitudes, then my point of rotation changes on all of those. And I'm no longer at 45 or 90 perpendiculars. I can be at 33s, 28s, all of those things. The initial plane of reference has got nothing to do with the surface at all when I'm setting that first
we got
plane.
That.
Yeah, and that's why when you go to the next one, it's a completely different thing. Yeah, and it's specific to the nature of the surface, and that's what you're having to do, which is where the referencing to reality takes place, and that's where you need a flat Earth for that.
You're confusing things. We're saying we and they. It's always they. It's always the baller in this context. But yes, absolutely, Adam.
Yeah, sorry.
But that's why I said this is a conclusion that we've drawn from information. There's no logic that you really have to use. It's just how definitions work. Is my point. Anytime they want to tie one of their claims to reality and what we experience.
Whoa. I got a question.
God.
Now interruptions are coming from Huey. I'm going to do some super chat shout outs. Then Huey can presumably deviate somewhere else. Right. A couple of shout outs first, and then Huey, you've got the floor. Shout out to Tom. He says, shout out to Refracted True Goat. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. And my penance from Theo Megawerty. He says, my penance for swearing. Good show, Nathan. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate all the support. I just want to make one other little note because I changed some settings on the fly. And if something does happen to fail, which I hope it doesn't, I just want to know what I've last changed. So then you can go ahead, QE. A total non sequitur from my part on a live show, no less. Anyway, I've changed my settings to 13,500 kbps. at medium quality with HVEC encoding via QuickSync on the iGPU. That's it. Thank you. Go ahead, Kiwi.
Yeah, question. How much for an order of ribs?
I'm going to get you, sucker. It's such a great movie. That's Chris. Is it Chris Rock that did that? That scene. It's Chris Rock, isn't it?
I'll take one.
Yeah.
Yes.
The hustle is he goes in. He asks for how much for the ribs, right? And the guy explains how much an order of ribs is, which is like 12 ribs. So a dozen ribs costs $5, say. And the guy's like, no. How much for one rib? And the guy's like, it's not worth me firing up the broiler for one rib. What are you talking about? So he's like, well, I'm really hungry. And so the guy says, okay, fine.
I'm hungry.
So yeah, I sure am hungry. So he says, right, one rib to the chef. So the chef starts making. Then they have a little discussion about whether or not he can have a drink out of his hands if he just pours the soda straight into his hands, right? The gag being, when it comes to him paying for his one rib, he pulls out this pocket full of change and hasn't quite got the dollar that they've agreed to. So he asks the guy behind the till if he's got change for 100 after pulling out a wad of about $5,000.
What he wanted, $5,000.
You got change for 100? Arguing over $1 worth of ribs, and he's got $5,000 in his top pocket.
How much for a cup? Fuck the cup, pour it in my hand for a dime.
That's it. Pour it in my cup. Pour it in my hand for a dime. Grabs him by the collar and he's like, look. Yeah, I'm going to get you, sucker. Get shot in the foot, and there's like one of the worst practical effects where they've got this, instead of the foot just being shot off, his toe becomes 50 times its normal size, bursting out the shoe. He's like, my bunions, man, my bunions. Oh, funny film. And Cherry. Do you remember Cherry? These eyes aren't really green.
What?
Oh, no, you'd have to see it.
The real problem out the gate is that ballers and flat earthers alike just don't want to accept that we don't have to go beyond fallacious reasoning. Like, it's a long-winded game of, okay, let's pretend that you didn't commit that logical fallacy. It's whack.
No, let's not. I heard what I just heard. We're not going to pretend anything.
I don't think it's me and Nathan's position that you shouldn't point out logical fallacies when they use them. That I don't think either one of us are trying to say don't ever do that.
I wouldn't trust the word Nathan says now. I've just seen him taking shrooms.
No, but not even directed at any of you guys. I just think this entire conversation in general would be completely boring and done if the world were a better place and we didn't accept logical fallacies in general.
I know exactly what you mean when you say that. But let's all pretend you did just commit fallacious reasoning. Yeah, let's just pretend and just keep the conversation going, right? Just to keep it going, just for the sake of it, when it should have been dead and buried.
Right, but after, if they use a logical fallacy, which they will, it's inevitable, you can point it out. That's absolutely, you should point it out to show them that their position is void. But they've also, in trying to link it back to reality, they've needed a flat earth for that.
What? Hey, their position isn't void, their argument is void.
Correct.
So many logical fallacies already.
Well, and I'll just reiterate something you said earlier, which is to say that just because they've used fallacious reasoning doesn't necessarily mean that their point is incorrect. And to assert that it is ipso facto incorrect based on the logical fallacy use would be the fallacy, right? Now, you did go through this on... We still are live, actually. I'm just testing my GPU settings for this encoder live. So anyway, we're still live. But on this live stream, you pointed that out, right? You didn't point out the fallacy if you infer that, well, simply because you've used an invalid argument, i.e. a fallacy, then your argument is ipso facto wrong. But in order to claim fallacy, you've got to actually show that the position is true. In other words, yeah, you might have affirmed the consequent, but it still might be true. Okay, well, let's move on. That argument, as you rightly point out, is void. So you can't keep rinsing and repeating it. You've got to then show by another means that what you've claimed is true, not the same means. But that argument to claim as true what you state is true is void if a fallacy's been employed.
Right. And as far as, yeah, you're right. I said that incorrectly. Their
No,
argument
that wasn't you.
is
It was
void.
nobody said anything incorrectly. It's just that. Oh yes, about saying the position is void. Yeah, the argument's void. That's just a misspeak, though.
Yeah, but their position about that argument being tied to reality, they're going to use a flat Earth to tie it to reality every time, as far as I've seen so far.
Well, just by saying the word globe, pretty much. Because where did they get the globe from?
From a flat Earth. We've got
Well, there you go.
this is a. I can see from an external point of view how anybody listening to this can go light back with science and scientific method and asking for an independent variable. Sorry to always reference your Spurs if you're listening, but it's a dangerous game if you get it wrong, and it can lead to abject humiliation, and the incorrect position that you've asserted being highlighted over and over again. Case in point, Spurs. So I appreciate this refinement. You know, if we're going to go around declaring that you're going to need a flat Earth for that, the audience, if nothing else, needs to appreciate that that is a dangerous game and you really need to have the right hand to play it.
I don't think today was one of them. I thought today was just uber refinement, uber geekiness in terms of nitpicking. Yeah, but nitpicking for our strengths, not for anything else, just showing the fine detail that we've got in the argument.
And it's not to underestimate the power of pointing out fallacious reasoning. If that is the prima facie use in argumentation that they've got, then you've got to take it apart on that, because that's what's being done, i.e. affirming the consequent, if that's what they're doing. You say, no. That is just a void argument. Now, if you then get onto another claim to be globe proof that does infer a use of a claim to be globe Earth, that they're going to need a radial value derived from a flat plane to get, then you can start pointing that out. But you guys are right. If on its face it is just an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy, that is the argument route that you take apart. No matter what they do before or after, if that's what they're doing. I agree.
Right, but how often do they make...
Next time, I'll leave you to it.
Well, hold on. How many times do they make claims and not try to tie them to the Earth?
Well, they do it surreptitiously. That's the problem, isn't it? We talked about this in the pre-show as well when we were talking about them inferring that we've got a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as Earth curve, when they talk about the horizon. But they don't say, my inference is that this is the leading edge, hill, getting in the way of stuff. They don't say that. They just say the horizon. Well, does the horizon, as a linguistic tool, infer anything globy? Well, no, but that's intentional.
Right. That's why when they say things like the horizon, the follow-up is, what about it?
Exactly. Unless they're actually defining what they're claiming. We get it all.
Have a horizon on a globe.
Your son does this all the time, Neil. He's a great example. He'll give you half an affirming the consequent, or he'll say something that's the Q statement in affirming the consequent without even claiming it's proving a globe. He'll just say, well, the stars rotate. You go,
Yeah, they do that all the time.
They just throw out.
And then if you push them to make a claim, they'll say, I'm not saying this
I've triggered
true.
Neil there, Eli. Just one sec, Neil. Then Eli, then Neil. I was actually addressing Eli, but talking about you, Neil. It's my bad. Go ahead, Eli, then Neil.
No, that's their game, because anything that you bring up, they preface it with, well, this isn't actually proof for a flat Earth, like by itself necessarily, but it's just evidence.
A globe.
But that itself is a baseless assertion, not a fallacy.
Craig did that the other day. Well, I'm not saying this proves it. It's just
evidence.
evidence. Like those two are synonyms, you dick.
Well, like in your example where you're holding up the globe and spinning it, right? Are you observing the stars rotate from the plane of reference inside the globe?
Let's get back to Eli's point about
What globe?
well, when they bring up the horizon. As soon as they do that, are you familiar with the slope of dope? You've been keeping up with flat Earth debate.
I just inferred that. That's what I was talking about.
Elijah.
Yeah. You hear me?
No? Barely.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I heard it.
All right, fair enough.
But when they say horizon, are you talking about where they draw out surface level as a horizontal plane, and then your eye line is going to a point below surface level to that horizon?
Can't have a horizon on a globe.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, I'll
You can't have a
qualify
right
that further. You can't
Yeah,
have.
you can.
Can't. Hold on, friend.
Of course you can.
Can't.
It's just limited.
Can't have anything. You can't have anything horizontal on the globe. Nothing. Not one thing ever.
That's not what I said. I said you can have an horizon. I would have to concede that on a globe it would have to be bendy.
But that's not the definition of horizon.
No, the horizon, if you want to try to describe it.
Horizon.
The trouble is, you see, you're looking in the axis where it'd be very hard to distinguish.
No, see, the thing is if you're talking about the horizon on a globe, you're going to have to define surface level as a horizontal plane, right?
Yep.
It's in the math. Surface level is a horizontal plane. You can't get away from that.
It's in the game.
See, as soon as we're in reality, you can just drop it straight away. The word horizontal, it relates to reality. You've got them.
Right. So define horizontal then.
It's in their math. It's flat. It's a flat plane.
Just define it. Oh, listen, dude. A flat plane could be in any infinite permutations of orientation, right? So horizontal is a particular orientation, right?
Surface level in their math is a horizontal flat plane.
Okay, so you parsed it out with the term horizontal rather than just flat plane, right? So it wasn't sufficient to say flat plane. You had to add the word horizontal. So what does adding the word horizontal change about the nature of a flat plane?
It makes its orientation horizontal.
Yes, it fixes it to a particular orientation. Out of an infinitude of orientations, it reduces it to one singular orientation, correct?
Can a horizon exist below surface level as defining the horizon?
No, how could you define it? Well,
It's a pretty simple question.
I don't even know.
It's complicated.
Without invoking horizontal, can the horizon exist
What's
below
horizontal
surface
is a
level?
question on the table. You don't seem to be able to answer it, so I'm struggling here.
Can the horizon exist below surface level?
Yo, bro, what is a horizontal plane versus a flat plane? What's the difference?
What's the difference between synonyms?
The definite orientation.
Dude, they're not synonyms.
Definite orientation, because for example, the bike situation, and then you have things that you have in reference to the Earth's horizontal.
No, a plane. there is a plane you can have that's not flat. But the moment you say flat,
But he said,
you
what's the difference
automatically
between a
it's
plane
flat.
and a horizontal? Like a plane can be in any
You're
orientation.
trying, bro, this bro trying too hard,
But
Elijah.
the thing is,
It's so simple,
the
dude.
thing
It's not
is-
a complicated question.
what's the difference between horizontal and flat? Is that what your question is?
What is the difference? Okay, I'm going to ask my question one more time since it's very hard for you to follow along for some reason. What is the difference between a flat plane and a horizontal plane?
Specificity of orientation.
Right, but flat automatically, and when you're talking about the surface,
Oh my God.
invokes orientation. So I don't know. What is the difference? Tell me.
The surface, I'll tell you, dude. Check this out. I have a flat plane in my hand right now. It's a pin. I'm holding it in an infinite amount of permutations, just rotating it in my fingers. Stop
Then
me.
it's not
Say
flat.
stop when I
It's
reach
sloping.
horizontal. Say
It's not flat
What?
at that point. It's sloping. It's sloping.
bro,
It's deviating
you're almost as
from
bad as
flat.
Bev right now, Holmes. Dude, what
Hit him
am I
with the
talking
wall,
to Bev?
chocolate.
I said it's specificity of orientation.
Right.
Right.
Which
When you
orientation
talk
is
about
that?
right, if you're holding a whiteboard, right, are you talking about its orientation when you say it's flat, or if you lay it flat on the ground? It
Flat
depends.
plate.
The word itself and the context it's used in can change.
Flat.
But now, if you're
I don't
talking
know, dude.
about,
I thought I was
hold
talking.
on a second.
I thought I was talking to
Come on,
somebody
let
who
me try to
understood
finish.
horizontal. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, if it's horizontal, it's in the only orientation it could be called horizontally placed.
right,
It's in the word, right, Eli?
hold on.
I'm going to ask Elijah. I'm going to ask Elijah since I don't want to keep pulling teeth here because I want to see if he can answer it. And then, by all means, John, you go ahead. Elijah, horizontal is orientated to what?
The Earth.
The
The
Earth is just
horizon.
the surface,
Horizon.
right? There you go. So it's a particular plane with a particular orientation, which is, yes, a flat plane as well.
But that's what we're talking about. That's why this whole thing's confusing me. Because I think we're on flat Earth debate, and we're all referencing the Earth that we dwell atop.
Well, dude.
Well, see,
bro,
that's the thing.
listen to me. If somebody
This
tells
is-
me that a flat plane is necessarily horizontal, they're just wrong. I mean, I don't get it. They're wrong. Period.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because something could be flat and vertical. I agree.
Well, that's in relation to itself,
That was
not
his
as the
point.
orientation. The orientation, right? So, like, if you're talking about level, is that flat?
Yeah, that was
Not
bunk
necessarily,
right
no.
there. That's a hit him with the wall chocolate bullshit. That's
Yeah,
bullshit.
He said that.
exactly. That's what I said.
Because flat is horizontal. Yeah, it's axiomatic.
What?
It's
Wait a second. You're telling me,
axiomatic.
hold on. I can't have a flat wall when I'm taping my wall and getting it smooth. I can't have a flat wall, and that's vertical, isn't it?
It's not flat. It's smooth, but it ain't flat. It ain't horizontal.
Oh, okay.
It's not
I
level.
got you. I got you.
Right. That we were talking about. That's why I said you're talking about slope and you're confusing it with flat.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
So you got to go back to the drawing board on that one, AI. Don't be pulling no friggin' Reds pretender shit on me.
Hit him with the wall, chocolate.
We ain't gonna go through that again.
Oh man, you beat me to it. I was waiting to do that.
Hey man, this wall I'm next to is pretty
I'll go
flat.
through it with all of you.
And with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Massive thank you to today's Discord and G++ pals for making today's live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting me up on the super chat, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!